Don't just waste our time.
Well, come on.
We're recording now. We'll
Okay,
be able to cut
right.
in splice. Maybe we can talk into that one. That's a more professional setup.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah, which one am I looking at? No,
Yeah, you're looking at that one. All right. Hello, Yakima. I'm Pat.
This is Dustin.
And I'm Jason White.
Jason is here to do kind of a barely informative interview. Not kind of, to just do one. Jason, tell us a little, why did we ask you to be here?
Well, I think I was the only one that would show up.
That's actually not
Thanks.
true.
No, you
It's
were the first one to say, yeah, I'll
I'm
totally
good
do that.
on board. I'm not for anything especially different.
Right.
But you're running for city council. What district are you in?
District 2.
District 2. Where is that? Not everyone's familiar with the
Yeah.
boundaries here.
It's basically southeast Yakima, but it does these weird lines. So but it's mostly southeast Yakima.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're in District 4 right now, I believe.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
just outside of my district, so.
Yep. So let's just get right down into business. How you handling the stress of running for council? You staying fit? You getting your veggies? You eating a lot of veggies?
Yeah, I got off my smoothies for a while and I was dead.
Oh
I
no.
was drained. I was really drained.
Did they filled you back up though?
They, after like 2 weeks, I'm just full speed ahead. I'm about a week in right now, so I'll be full strength by next week.
No, but now you were a little late showing up today because you were coming down from the mountains.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
find Bigfoot?
I think I have bear tracks for sure.
Real bear tracks.
Fresh ones.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow.
Where you can see them eating ants this morning in the logs. They're ripping apart the logs.
Oh cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were you camping up there?
Kind of. I went there last night, threw my mattress down, and kind of got sprinkled on, and yeah, I had a good breakfast, eggs,
Of bear
potatoes.
meat? Oh.
That's why they didn't find the bear, because
Yeah.
you killed it with your bare hands.
I did.
With this bare hands, raw.
Yeah.
With actual bear.
I wish you guys would have been there to get a video of that.
My
Really good.
Yeah.
my wife and in-laws were up there a few days ago, and they actually saw a wolf walk across the road.
Really?
Up near Raven's Roost on the Little Mad Cheese. Yeah,
That'd be really cool.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, really exciting.
So one of the questions I want to start off with is the question is everybody asks, oh, why do you want to run for city council? And like I feel like it gets to the point where everyone says, oh, because I want to serve my community. The question I want to put forth is, why does it matter to you that you serve?
Well, I think that's the only way for me to live, really. I think some people are just servants, like in a good way or whatever way, but I think that's where I'm happiest, is serving, something that's just making people's lives better, and whatever that position is, that's where I feel most comfortable. So.
What other service have you done before?
Well, I was in the military. But I was also, in sports teams where I was, like serving the greater good of the community, but also in physical therapy. I was a physical therapy assistant, redoing homes, gardening, growing food. Now I'm looking at a job where I'm helping out a company manage their properties, basically, and remodel and take care of their stuff, So I think all my jobs and all my professions have been service oriented.
What branch were you in?
Army.
The Army?
Yep. Army Reserve, signed up after, I signed up right before 9/11.
Okay.
And so then I went in 3.5 years on active duty right after 9/11. So.
That's a quick way to end up on active duty.
Yeah,
Comparisons.
yeah,
That'll
yeah.
do it.
Remember those guys were in the army too for 3 years. So.
See, I thought I was going to be gone. I thought I was going to be off playing football. I had a full ride academic to the University of Puget Sound. And so I thought I was going to go and do my 6 months and be a reservist and, benefit there. And no, I was full on military.
Uncle Sam had a
Yeah.
different idea. Yeah.
Change of plans.
Yeah, they'll do that.
So,
So for you feel like most at peace just being involved in the community and helping your fellow man or woman?
yeah, just doing things that make people's life better. And, so that's why, that is why, I ran, is because it's kind of just brings some I don't know, I think the biggest thing that it needs, like this city, is the emotional maturity to where people can put aside their biases and their vendettas and all that animosity and just talk about real things, you know, focused on getting real things done instead of being hostile about it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things in an interview you did with the Herald, you had mentioned, the question was, how are you going to fix gang violence?
Yeah.
And your answer was to help show people in different parts of the city what it's like to live in another part of the city. And I read that and I thought, man, that's a phenomenal idea, way to do that. And then my next thought was, how?
Yeah.
Our idea was like party bus, like
Yeah.
party bus around, or
You know, like major sleepovers, like for you, like
Yeah, like
aside from rolling out the sleeping bags, you know, how do you see that taking place?
Well, I think that having an open mind, you know, but like to do things too. I mean, some people have brought up ideas to me, like where you do a hood tour, you know, like tours through that area that talk about the real stuff, that talk, you know, like a tacos, crack, and, you know, tour, you know, it's like tacos and crack tour, just to make fun of it, just something to think outside the box to get those things going, you know. But one of the things too, I'm looking at doing a free market down on Natchez Ave. Like a free with vendors, small vendors, you know, personal, like small groups, organizations that would come, and like, and then the city people that work for the city, you can walk through and meet people and meet the organizations and meet the people that are just starting out, you know, because a lot of those people don't have a way off the ground, you know. They don't have the money to spend on the booth fees and the you know, even the licenses and stuff like that. They're just trying to get their thing going get their thing going right now.
So, I mean, this would be a thing sitting separate from the farmer's market.
Yeah, I would think even the farmers market could possibly incorporate our other smaller farmers, you know, especially the just ones that are just getting going, you know, just because there's so many of those groups that don't really have a platform or a way to speak, and even artists, you know, like there's so many different genres of artists that could be performing there on a small scale, like doing their paintings or doing their little structures of beads and rocks, and we have all these little clubs that aren't really nobody ever really comes together, you know, in Yakima. Like nobody, like the groups don't always have a place to go. They're kind of like scattered out, you know, and you kind of do your own thing and, you know, try to bring a place where more diversity can be at one place in time.
Yeah, do
You know?
you imagine encountering resistance to that? Because in my head, I can see people fighting that.
I don't know. I've had good with the city. City's on board for it. Artists are on board for it. Everything, all the fillers I've gotten back so far are really positive. Really big turnout, like big feedback when I just put it out there for the filler. You know, I mean, people really wanted to do it. You know, especially for the smaller artists that are just trying to get just maybe hobbyist type. You know, but that's just one of like the things that the types of things that we need to be doing, you know, to get those people together, and even with the cops, you know, like making sure they know that they can take a second to say hi to people down there, or have a good, you know, have a fresh image, you know, or have a clean perspective on both sides. I think everybody, you can't, well, because it's human nature to kind of go into a situation and have like predispositions and expect somebody to be a certain way without, you know, just kind of, instead of coming in with a clean slate, you know, because it's easy to go down there and already be on your defenses, you know, and gotta kind of break that up, you know.
You know, that made me think of, first, I would just like to make another plug for the giant slumber party idea. Just throwing it out there. Sleep out in the park, no big deal, whatever.
Tent city.
But that kind of made me want to think about the level of trust that exists between the police force and the citizens. You know, that's always been somewhat of a tentative place, and especially in the last few years with the broader nationwide broadcasting of what we would call police violence against citizens. You know, there's not a lot of that happening here compared to other cities, so I don't want to sit there and say that that we're in the same boat as other cities, right?
Yeah.
But because of those other tensions existing, I feel like it has become a little bit harder to maintain that relationship with the Yakima police force. And so that struck me as one way to kind of help build that community and the trust in our public servants. Are there other ways you can see? Because I think, especially after the shakeup from the ACLU lawsuit and just general distrust in government, I mean, that's kind of led to our current political environment. Like, what are the other ways you can see of building that gap? You kind of mentioned that one there with your free market idea. What are some other ways to kind of
being more
rebuild that trust?
transparency, like especially people that are on the council stepping up and taking time to do more media. So like every time there's an opportunity to have a response in the Herald, because that's where a lot of people are getting their information from. And you could really take that opportunity, because they're there waiting to speak to the city council all the time. Like, you could basically have a free line to them and disseminate more information, more appropriate information, because it just seems like I read a lot of articles and they're like, well, so-and-so the city council member didn't want to comment on this, and just by being transparent about it, and there's so many ways to reach people, and you have to hit every avenue, really, because we need repetition, and it needs to come from different angles, and we have right now with social media and these type of interviews, an opportunity to just to be more transparent and get more things out there and put our input into why, because there's always a lot of whys, but you have to break all that stuff down and just really put it into a little package, because there's a lot of complexity to it, but there's also the short answers, and those need to get out there so people know why, and if these projects, like what's going on and why are we doing this stuff, why are we going around that route, because once people understand the why, then it's a little bit easier to make people feel more comfortable, as a whole, and I think another big part of it is slowing down the town, simple things, like
how do you mean that?
like speed limits, like even speed limits,
okay.
like
Literally slowing down the town.
that makes it increase safety,
Yeah.
Just by going from 25 to 20, you decrease like 40-some% of the road noise, and your actual like incidents, like you have a 98% chance of surviving at 20 or below, but you go up to 25 and that's reduced drastically, and the noise and just the overall feel, especially on our streets that don't need to be, like that aren't thorough streets, like Yakima Ave should be 20, because if you're walking down there, if you're trying to get more people out and about, I guess there's quite a bit that involves like how you get everybody out and about, because that's a big part of it, getting people walking, and that's why I wanted to slow it down there, but also do things that slow it down. Like I'm working on, I was putting together the community crosswalks program. So that neighborhood would paint a crosswalk, to the design of their likings, and then they would be a part of it, taking ownership in communities, that thread,
That's a neat idea.
So people from the west side would want to come down there and walk, because there'd be more people, you'd be walking through the neighborhoods to see the art,
Yeah.
to see it's really inexpensive ways to do that, you're looking at maybe $100 for a sidewalk or something, versus $450,000 for other big projects.
Right.
So you can do you could spread that money out a lot if we did little projects in little neighborhoods and throw out those kind of ideas and see what sticks and see what people want to do.
So you definitely want to try and cultivate a sort of artistic personality to some of these communities.
I think I want to let it express it, because I think it's already there. It's just repressed. Like I think all this stuff is repressed in Yakima. There is a lot of repression for art and differences. I see it as fairly intolerant to different perspectives. So just by letting that express, let the artists be artists, and let the community be a part of their community, making things in their community, being a part of it, and there's a lot of ways, I don't know them all, but those are just kind of like the thread of what I'm trying to do. So.
That just made me think of like New Orleans during Mardi Gras. They have neighborhood parades.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Sun parade, we're coming for you.
Yeah,
Good one, a lighted parade, a lighted Halloween parade or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
Something cool, because the Sunnyside Implement Lighted Parade isn't much, but it's nationally known. you
Oh.
know?
I did not know
And
that.
it's a very simple project to pull
Yeah.
off, you know, I've been a part of it.
So
So,
that sounds great.
you know, I've done a bus, I've done a decorated bus for Top Finish Nursing Rehab out there, so,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
So, in general, then, I mean, if you were on the council, any project that came up that would basically get people out of their homes and around each other is a thing you would try to build
Yeah, and support, yeah,
and fund.
yeah, and,
if
and,
possible.
yeah, be after it, because I think that that's, anything that basically is like geared towards giving people a hand up and out, you know, and like together,
Yeah.
instead of just more handouts. I mean, that's what, seems like everything, the solution is, I mean, you know, handouts really, you know, it's like give people this money, but then nothing really comes of it, you know, it's like, or too much money goes to it and not too much is done, you know, so like big impactful things that you can spend a little bit of money on that goes a long ways, you know, and it's, I think there's a lot of those types of things that we don't need to spend a lot of money on, but they
Yeah.
make big impacts, you know?
So you're like targeting the, like a simpler, more cost-effective solution to like opening the dialogue and getting the community to come together. essentially.
Yeah, like cost-effective ways to make things happen instantly too, because I mean, the big money projects take 5-10 years, you know?
Yeah.
We're still working like that, all the stuff that's coming to fruition now is 10 years ago, or, you know, even longer, some of it.
Yeah.
And it's long-term projects, so we don't have time for the long-term stuff right now. When you have a problem right now, you need to go just inject now, like, I mean, make changes, make quick changes. And that's what I think most stuff is small changes that change everything, you know,
Yeah.
it's people's mindsets too. So working on the mindset of doing that, planting those seeds, so people can do it themselves,
Yeah.
really.
So I want to shift gears a little bit here. One of the kind of the floating around the government ideas that's happening now is the idea of shifting from a city manager that's kind of running and structuring managing the government to a strong mayor kind of prototype where, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your idea on that? How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I know I've looked into strong mayor before, and it seemed like a good fit. That would be 10 years ago. I was looking into it when they were doing it, or when they passed it, or whatever they did. But yeah, I'm kind of open to whatever, to looking at it if it's a reality.
What are the pros and cons in your mind of having a strong mayor versus a stronger city manager?
It seems like the decision making, right? I mean, a little bit. You know, you have a lot more decision making, and that person's full time. It looks like the strong mayor would be full time, and the council would be the part timers, basically. And having somebody that's full time that has if their intentions are in the right place, I think could make a big impact on the city. Because you really have to understand a lot of perspectives, I think, you know, and then be able to implement it, you know, and still. You know, I think it could be good, but I'm okay with this current system as far as the way it works, but you know.
So just kind of like a little bit of skepticism about giving one person too much power who may potentially not understand the whole city's perspective, not understand like.
Yeah, I think it could be really good, and it could probably be really bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Either have somebody really good, or you know, in between. And it's just like. There's a lot hinging on it, but then again, if you have the right person, you can move things through pretty quick and make things happen. But depending on their agenda, then if, you know, that's, because right now I see somebody had good direction and knew how to clear a path of where they wanted to go with the city and a way to do it, then that'd be good. But as of right now, I like there's new ideas coming in.
Yeah.
That's good for sure. Everybody's new. All three districts are, we knocked off.
Yeah.
You know, Avina was number 1 and Scott was number 2 last time, and they were 3 and 4 this time. So it's definitely, I think people are ready to have a different perspective, you know.
Yeah, well, and I bring it up because it's been put as like a ballot initiative, put to the voters, and it didn't pass there. But it sounds as though there's a potential that the council could make that decision themselves, and that's potentially a decision that would be in your hands, you know, and so
Yeah, I would-
letting everybody know where you sit on that.
I would never
is
go against the vote. I don't think. I mean, like, yeah, especially for something like that. If you voted on it, that's fine. I mean, if the city votes on it, that's what it's there for. And I think that's the opposite of what happened last time.
Yeah,
It was voted. I think the numbers were there from what I can remember, and it didn't. And then the city council voted it out. You know.
yeah,
So, but yeah, anything I wouldn't go against the vote.
okay,
If that's what was there, then I wouldn't try to say, oh yeah, thanks for voting, but no thanks, you know, we got this, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
let's talk about the sanctuary city, because this is a topic I've had people come to me and say, ask him about this.
yeah.
This was a pretty controversial thing that went down, you know, because a lot of there's you know there's many sides to this idea. City council decided we will not be a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
That really upset a lot of people, made a lot of other people really happy, right? Where is that a thing that if it comes up again, where do you stand on that?
Oh, I'm not for anything that's gonna divide people, so I'd wanna get that off the table and focus on what the issues are with that. You know, I mean, it was like, the way I looked at it, I was like, we're not gonna be a sanctuary city, the last thing we need is more attention from the majority of people or something, or from a lot of people. I mean, people that are, you know, even Hispanic, you know, they don't really, a lot of them don't want it, you know, they don't want to be there, you know, they want to have, we need to have that line in the sand where we're not able to go across that, you know, so like, a lot of it was, the issue was like checking IDs, you know, checking status, which is, if they haven't been implemented a crime, I think that goes for everybody, really. You know, that's what I wanted to put forward too, because I've seen them do it on the streets in Yakima where you're not implemented in a crime whatsoever, and they're sitting there asking you for your ID, and I don't feel that that's, personally, I don't think it's not right. You know, if you're not implicated in a crime, or if you have no, you know, then they have no reason to be. They have better things to do, you know.
So I mean, then you would say, well, let's not even talk about the sanctuary
Yeah.
city decision.
Yeah.
We need to do something. We need to focus on something.
If that's the issue, yeah. If you don't feel safe, then that's everybody. You can't ever just make a law for the small group that offends like everybody. If it's like, so I know my solution is just to make it so if it's written in law for everybody, you don't check IDs unless they've been implemented in a crime, you know?
Okay.
And
I mean,
so-
part of it, I think, too, though, isn't it the element that the city will not devote any of its resources to aid federal investigators looking for those that are illegal? And if we're not a sanctuary city, we will aid federal people, right? Isn't that the idea that the city resources could be devoted to aid federal investigators or federal immigration officers looking for those that are not legally here?
If we were a sanctuary city?
If we are not a sanctuary
Yeah,
city,
yeah.
and if we were, it's basically saying feds are on your own.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's kind of where it is. And you know, part of it is that the current administration said if you're going to be a sanctuary city, we're going to withhold money from you. We're going to
Yeah.
withhold federal grants from you.
Yeah.
And so I guess the kind of
Okay.
the struggle is some people look at it and they say, well, you chose money over civil rights.
Yeah.
And some people look at it and they say, look, this money is so important to the city that it's more important than this issue. Like the civil rights issue isn't as in danger as you're saying it is, and we need the funds to make the city function. And so it's kind of if it comes up again, which it very easily could, you know, where do you sit there?
Yeah. Huh. Okay. I didn't understand that part of it, so that's what I see that dynamic though. Yeah.
Because frankly, there's a lot at stake either way, and it's kind of a statement. A lot of people that have said is like that was a statement about what Yakima is, and that's why they were so upset about it. It was money mattered more than the civil rights of our people. But it's not that simple because it was
because that's really
it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money, and it's not like we're rolling in dough in Yakima either, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's I mean, do you think that how much of a threat is, how at risk are people here to that, to being just rounded up and deported, do you think? I mean, do you think it's that big of a deal?
No, absolutely not.
You don't? Okay.
No, I don't think that there's a real, I grew up, most of my friends were Hispanic, and, I think that just the threat now of this, Donald Trump administration, and there being more, this, I don't know, this, white supremacy type of movement or showing or demonstration on news anyways, that people are more afraid of it now, but as far as I can see, I haven't had anybody bring that up, and a lot of my friends are Hispanic, and they haven't, nothing's different, and it's probably just as easy now, but so, I don't know, I don't really see it as a real threat to their ability as a big number to be able to contact the police. That's not the real issue, because it doesn't matter if they're illegal or not. They're not talking to the police. People don't feel comfortable talking to the police right now. It doesn't matter if you're illegal or not. If you're a normal person, for the people that are witnessing the crimes, are not talking to the police, but they're talking to themselves. If you go in jail, everybody's just blurting out every detail about their crime that you could imagine. They're telling you everything, but yet the police, nobody will talk to the police about it. So that's a bigger issue. And I think that, it's a very complex issue, but it's also, we can't really be getting involved with those things when we should be spending our time on fixing the issues, that's really where we need to be focused on, is fixing the issues, instead of having these controversial subjects that you can't really solve, because there's no, there might be, I'd like to look at, that's when I have to really look at deeply into these issues, everything. They're so much more complex than you read an article or talk to a person, you get tidbits, but until you can put it all together, and you better have a good reason on both sides, a good reason, be able to outline a good reason.
So I just want to make sure I kind of am understanding what you're saying. To you, the idea of being a sanctuary city or not is less of a pressing issue when the bigger problem is the community doesn't trust its servants.
A certain portion of the community doesn't trust her. Yeah, not everybody.
If we're so divided and the citizens won't talk to their police, then that's a bigger problem than whether or not we have this federal grant or not, whether or not we are a sanctuary city or not.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's our citizens. That's our focus. That's who we work for first. You work for the citizens, so that's the real issue, because that's what we have to focus on right now, is that real issue of the comfort, where people feel comfortable.
Would it not being a sanctuary city though just make that statement, make it easier for that trust? Saying,
I think so. Not being a sanctuary city?
No, being one. Saying, we are a sanctuary city, we will not come for you if you even look like you're illegal. If there's any, it's not even, as a city, we're not even going to care about it.
Yeah, well, the title, that title, though, then you get the backlash on the other side. So it's it's the way, I think, the way you go about doing it too. You have to be creative with that solution is all. Whatever that solution is, if it's black and white, like sanctuary city or not, then you have this entire rift. And if we're focusing on things that are going, it's going to create a lot of rift. A lot of animosity. It's going to create a lot of tensions. So you got to come up with solutions right now that break tensions in Yakima, because that's one of the biggest problems right now is the tensions. So if you can come up with solutions that break the tensions, then I think that's how we're going to progress a bigger picture. Because I think if it was a sanctuary city, I know a lot of people that wouldn't like it. There are a lot of people that'd be angry. But just because they don't even know that much information, though. Generally, the average person only knows the headline of the information. So you gotta be, if you do make it a sanctuary city, you gotta be able to break it down into what the headlines of what that really means. Because you gotta be able to clarify that, and there's a lot of people to clarify it too. So it's kind of
so part of it is
task.
Selling the decision you've made.
Absolutely.
Which almost kind of goes back to that transparency stuff you were talking about.
So if you're going to make that decision, you need to sell it too, or you got to be able to clarify it. because that's where I see a lot of the problem is with the city is like, they might have some good projects going on, but nobody knows their plan, even though they're posting it here, they're posting it there. It's like, you gotta be able to say X, Y, Z, like not just money, because I mean, like people are tired of that, you know, where you're saying we're gonna, economic development's gonna bring in jobs, but everyone knows it's just minimum wage jobs, and more companies that are being built are being automated, and you know, all that stuff's happening right now, so so it's the clarity. I think clarity, no matter what decision you make, you should own it and know why you own it, you know, and let the city know why you own it, because that's gonna build the trust. At least you're saying straight up, this is why I'm doing it,
Yeah.
clearly, you know, that's the trust part of it. Because when they start to trust all the civic leaders, then there's kind of like, you're breaking down those walls that really exist here.
Yeah, because I mean the walls also, as you were kind of referring to, they don't just exist between like the police and the community, but there's also
Yeah.
these sort of microcosm communities within the greater community. Like
Yeah.
you said, there's that division there too.
Yeah.
So it's also about trying to preserve that too, because obviously with the national scrutiny of like, oh, police officers are
Yeah.
evil or whatever
Yeah.
word they want to use for it. Now you're also looking at the heart of the community and being like, how do we bring them together? Because then with the violence and also with the whole sanctuary city thing, there's already people looking at other people being like, just within the community, just being like,
As the enemy or the other, you know, like
Yeah.
that's like the big picture. There is no other, you know, like in my eyes, like it's just us, you know, and like if there's things that create other in rural, you know, then there's gonna be other in the city, you know, so like you have to kind of get away from the other side of it, you know, or from the us, like try to find a way that it works for us, you know, and so
Yeah.
that's hard to do, because you really got to think outside the box of everything, the materials you've been given, because the materials you've been given tell you to think us versus them, you know, separate, you know, like it's left or right, you know, but there is a moderate type, you know, way to usually accomplish the same thing.
trying to find the gray area, not just the black and the white, just
Yeah,
the
just
gray
like,
area.
it works on both sides, you
Yeah.
know.
You had mentioned economic development, and I wanted to bring that up because you mentioned that that was one of the Herald questions that was thrown out there, and you know, as I perused through all those answers, pretty much everyone was like, well, let's make the tax situation easier for businesses, which to me, okay.
Yeah,
Every politician I've ever listened to answer any question like that says that.
yeah,
One of the things I wanted to know is we're talking about, so not just like tax cuts to make small businesses easier. Your answer was very much in favor of fostering locally owned businesses,
yeah.
which is huge for local business development. One of the things I was thinking of as I've noticed cities across the nation have been passing like municipal laws or saying that they as a city are going to maintain in the Paris Climate Agreement, which I think is an interesting phenomena taking place, where you have governors or cities that are kind of bucking national politics and saying, screw all this, we're gonna run our business. And it's kind of like I think it's a really cool move of just people saying, no, we'll take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But on top of that, to the economic question, is I've always stopped and I've always thought there's a lot of potential innovation and economic growth in renewable energies. And you see it here already in Yakima, there's 2 or 3 solar companies already. And we have a lot of open space and a lot of sun.
Yeah.
And there was an article on Vox that I read a while ago, and they were discussing how currently the solar energy industry is exploding, and it's got 3 times as many jobs as the coal industry.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just focus on solar energy, but we're talking about, this is a renewable energies and kind of this new style of searching for environmental sustainability. Seems like it's a huge avenue for economic growth.
It is.
There's a lot of money to be made. How would you, thinking about that economic growth and that kind of ideal, and also thinking about environmental sustainability with that business side, what are the other industries that you might be able to bring in here? Not just even the environmental ones, but
Yeah.
is there a way to bring in just different industries? Because
I don't think.
we have a ton of agriculture here, and that's kind of our staple, but that diversity, you know,
And-
economic diversity.
And I think it's not necessarily bringing it in, it's bringing it up. Like, I think it's bringing those businesses up. Like, so somewhere like.
So they're here, you just gotta help them out.
Yeah, you gotta help them get going, like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, cause it doesn't cost us very much as a city, but we're gonna get all that money back, you know, and I believe, like, we should be putting money directly into our city, not where you pay a bunch of people like $100 million to come in and do a project, because that just, like, we might've got a 5–10% stimulus, but if that $1 million goes into the city directly, you get a, you know, the tenfold return in your economy. So our money has to go directly into the citizens here, and that stimulates our economy, but it all, you know, it keeps the money local, like that's the first, like, objective, but it's also, like getting those other people, like the small farms, like the small farms, and then you have your small food trucks, and you have, like, you know, conducive to that, where they're able to grow and to get their spaces feasibly or something, and getting into that. You have all that small scale manufacturing, like startup manufacturing, because they're paying a lot. That's what I was like with the subculture fair market type, where you have all these different industries, whatever somebody's doing. If they're doing rocks, or if they're doing their small renewable energy type company, if they're, you know, even if they're doing it differently, because there's so many ways that not just solar, but wind power, magnetics, like water power, ways, but yeah, innovation of all sorts, like innovating the way we do business, innovating the way we're looking at things to create velocity of currency, really is what I'm, you know, interested in, is that bottom 50%, that's our foundation of the economy. And if we focus on that, everything else around it is like, it's built up, you know, from that. But right now we don't have a strong base economy. Like, you have those cheap, inexpensive jobs, but not the strong, you know, personal creative marketplace, you know, like that's where the velocity, like where you're buying it from your neighbors, you're buying it from people you know, like we need to be able to have more of that, because that creates more wealth and you know, and security in our community. And supporting that and coming from this mindset that we're gonna be innovative and we're gonna start leading the way instead of following, you know, because I think that Yakima's been probably 2 decades behind socially, economically, you know, and I think that we could just say, hey, we're gonna be ahead, and like, look at what's coming. Look at what's coming down the road economically in the
What do
world.
you see coming?
Trouble. Like, I mean, no, big time. Like with the dollar, I mean, the dollar is going to be, it's dying off right now, and retail.
In terms of like innovation, what do you see coming? Like,
Yeah,
what's
I think,
that next big opportunity?
well, I think it's because people are being forced into it. You know, like the next big opportunities are taking your skill and your talent and making it happen. Because as we hit inflation, because we're going to start seeing a lot of inflation now come through, and like when the dollar starts dying off, we get these massive inflation, so food goes way up. Everything you want goes way up, energy goes way up, so now people have to start creating their energy for their cars and for all your daily things that you would normally use, you know, so that's like,
Oh, I see.
so your daily usage things are going to be the most valuable. They're going to be valuable again to where now you can sit there and make clothing, and it makes enough money to be worth your time, because before it was so cheap because you were getting it from an outsource, so it was able to get really, really cheap. But now those prices are going to be going
You
up.
almost want to foster. It sounds like what you want to kind of help build is is you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong here. You're saying that the outside economy will not be strong enough to support our community for much longer. So to get ahead of that, you want to build our local economy to be more self-sustaining in terms of those textiles, in terms of our food production, in terms of our energy production, to where our community produces what we need to help ourselves.
Yeah,
Is that kind of what you're...
Yeah, and everything that you're getting in, like, it's staying here. You know, so when we bring in tourist dollars, they stay here. You know, they actually, right now, not very many of those dollars stay here. They get their hotel that's owned by somebody out of town, and like, when you have these big businesses, everything just, you get such a small return in your economy.
Okay.
But if everybody's making all that food, everybody's making it local, everybody's Airbnb, you know, like, you know, Uber type thing, where that money actually stays here. I
was just imagining everyone in Yakima turning into a prepper. Like, I'm just like, haha, I'll live on my own self. Homestead Yakima, coming into a sitting near you.
Just a sea of what is it, the shipping container homes and all that.
Just people just peeking out. What do you want?
Yeah. But that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool to see people do that, to see that kind of creativity and that the sort of self-starter
I think
attitude.
it's going to be a necessity. I think by the beginning of next year, I think we're going to be looking at a completely different economic system. Like I think by that soon, from all the indications, like the debt's too much. The debt you can't. There's not enough money to service the debt even.
So then, how do you see as a city council member being able to build that up? So that kind of self-sufficient skill sets and mindset that we would need as a community, how do you see the city council being able to make that take place?
Well, I think that by making sure that things are looked at on the financial side, where the city's not, instead of it's being a little bit more proactive, expecting these dollars to go down. So they should. Well, they might. Just expecting like what's coming, like on the city council side. If we're going to be, if our funds are decreasing, we got to prepare for it now. And if we need to invest more money into our local economy, like even if we needed to do something where we could allow, like either grants, small business grants, like because most businesses $2,000 when they're starting to get off the ground is a big, is a big amount of money. But whereas you could spend millions on something and not really have any return on it. But as it plays out, I think that's what we have to look at is the ways that we can do that immediately. Like what can we do now to get as many businesses as we can off the ground? What's their biggest hiccups? A lot of it's bonds, like the bond and insurance, license and bonding. That's holding so many people back. Just farmers, like small farmers getting into restaurants, they need a $1,000 bond. And they're barely, if they sold that all summer long, they'd be happy. So it's their first year. Just trying to get that, bond funds or whatever, however we can do that to make sure the average person could get going that wanted to get going. Because that creates so much more money in our city, wealth, that creates wealth in our city, and that's what we need is wealth from the ground up, and then everybody else will be able to support their restaurants, because then people will have the disposable income, because there's really discretionary spending is dying, and that's what people as a whole right now is dying. That's why it's like, we hit our peak of discretionary spending, but now the debt is too high to where student loans, cars. Houses are not so much, but there's just so much debt, credit card debt just hit $1.2 trillion, and everyone's retiring right now, so everybody's retiring, so
that's so much debt.
It's insane. The debt's insane. It's like,
and so we're talking about on that national level, but being able to find a way to make Yakima less of a statistic in that, right?
Yeah, and then be ahead of that curve, and like I see it's coming because it just mathematically is there. It has to, because you just can't pay for all those entitlements. You can't pay for all the entitlements, so it's coming, and I just want to make sure people are. And like just by putting that stuff out there, we have a platform to speak from. That's bigger than anything, is saying I see it coming. You can do your own research on it. Real research, and see it's there. Those numbers, they just don't make sense. If you look at if you're completely a Keynesian and you believe in all that stuff, you can just keep pumping more money into it and it'll fix it, like it has kind of. But it's dying. Retail. We had more bankruptcies and closures this year than all of last year, and it's just kind of slowly dropping off the edge. So, it should be fun.
Yeah. So for all
fun's a word for it for sure.
For all the viewers out there, I'm not an economic mind, and I think he spoke Latin for half of that, but. It sounds like there may be a city council candidate here that has his finger on some financial stuff better than maybe others. At least to me, I don't know, because I was like, you just said big numbers, and then I felt like I should write poetry because.
Poetry too. You can do it very good.
Can you write a poem? Do one right now. Give me a haiku about our debt.
Oh, man, I really can't.
Yeah.
I'm not
So,
good.
hold on.
I'm not as good as you.
My big thing is that this is barely informative. We just got a lot of information just
Yeah,
then.
so-
I know, I didn't mean to do it, I didn't mean to, I don't want
Jason,
to, I don't want to even talk
Our
about it.
tagline is if you're learning something, you're doing it wrong. You,
Oh,
sir,
no.
did it way wrong.
I'm good at doing this wrong.
Yeah.
It was
You
really
just
wonderful.
ruined every. We have to change our name now.
Well,
Yeah, in all seriousness though, it was really wonderful because that was a very excellent breakdown of what it is what your sort of mission is and what you feel like Yakima is
Yeah,
needing.
um, So yeah, there was a lot of like big details that we got into there, and this is one of those things where I'm certain it's even far more complex than this conversation just made it sound. Because that's every time I look into financial anything, I'm like, that's unnecessarily complicated. At least to me.
yeah.
But I think it's kind of nice to see that like you're thinking about that. Like your brain is turning over numbers, and that's a thing you're working over.
Yeah, the transparency there, you being able to explain to the community a little bit about
Yeah.
that, you know.
Let me change gears.
Yeah.
Another one here. You're running against Pablo Gonzalez in District 2. Why should District 2 pick you instead of Pablo?
Well, I'm already backed by Maud Scott, so I haven't talked to Abina yet, but, I think that, I grew up down there. I don't know why they, I grew up down there. I understand the community really well, and I'm kind of all in, you know? I'm actually all in on it. You know, I moved away from West Valley last year to kind of come back down here and see what I can do for the community. And, kind of I have a pal house, Maud Scott's house, that used to be like, it's an old Victorian, that used to be a community center, like art center and stuff. That was closed down, and it was kind of my mission to come back and help her get that going again, so that's kind of what brought me back down there. And, this is kind of what I want to do. I know Pablo's doing a lot of other things, a couple other businesses that he's doing and kind of in the lower valley. So I think I have more time, and I have, creativity, on my side. Definitely think outside the box, and I think I bring something that's different. He's definitely the traditional politician, has a degree in political science, and so he's going to have the same thing that we've been working with. So if people, and they don't seem to like that too much in my district.
So you're not establishment is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah,
And you're
absolutely. But I'm kind of a moderate too. So, but I'm not anti-establishment or anti-anything. I think that I'm like either for something. Like I think we need to be for the solutions and for that stuff. I've never been the resist type person. It's more like, well, if we don't like that, then let's do this way. Let's just do it this way. If it doesn't work, well, that's why we're there on the city councils to change it so it works, or to make it work for us. And that's what I think that I'm there for, to make sure that, make sure things work for us, and that there's like, because I can't let a lie live around me, So I can't let that live in the room. So if there's something that needs to be said, I'll definitely say it when it's the right time, because it's really important to basically just call a spade, and to just break through the animosities that exist. So I think I can do that.
It seems like the big thing is you were for bridging the gap, whether that gap is between establishment community, within the community itself. With
It's even between
residents.
there's so many gaps there, it's not, I'm not, picking on the police and policing gangbanger, that's what everyone knows, or the homeless and the even non-homeless. Homeless is such a big word too. It's such a complex situation that, and being creative about just cleaning it up, especially basically our north first and then, to Nob Hill, and then Nob Hill to the freeway. Like those areas, that's that's your first shot in Yakima. Your first impression kind of sounds so great, so we gotta clean that. Clean it up, just even doing the art walk where you're getting more people, because right now it's like, I don't think are homeless and poverty is a world issue, and we could get more people out there so it's like breaks the numbers down. Instead of being 10 homeless people and one person that has a home, you know, or that socially, economically looks acceptable, you know, if you had 100 people out there walking, then it doesn't even seem like such an issue. Like there's nobody else walking outside, there's nobody else out there, out and about, because there's really nothing to look at or nothing special to do or nothing special to see.
Yeah, or people feel intimidated by some of the communities that they are in. Like, there's a lot of people that I know, even my, you know, like, that I know personally, they're like, I don't go to that side of town.
Oh, yeah.
There's like, I steer clear of that side of town. There are whole neighborhoods where like, I don't go there. And it's like, and I actually used to deliver pizza, so I went all over, and like, it's interesting. I mean, there are people there, there are nice people there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very easy to, I just think there's a bad reputation that kind of circulates around the community within Yakima, but also sometimes outside of Yakima too.
Yeah.
And I think that it sounds like for you, you're also trying to clean up the dialogue when referencing like, oh, like, not just saying words like gangbangers and homeless, because like that right there also creates, it creates a false impression of the mind.
Yeah, it does, and it creates like, cause everything's gang related, but if you know those people, like, I mean, I've known of them or know about them, it's like they weren't gang related, what I would consider gang related, so when you instantly label that on everybody, then it makes the problem a lot worse, and I mean, just the perception is almost everything, you know, people's perception of the problem. So if you keep labeling it gang, drug, homeless, but you know, we see more, it's like we see a lot of mental illness, we see a lot of, you know, like a lot of just low paying wages where people, it's like